Brittany and welcome back to Britney Unplugged. And as you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about the 5 essential things you need to know by the age of 18. So as teenagers, we're constantly told to live in the moment, or oh, you'll understand when you're older, or oh, you're too young to understand. But ultimately for me, who's turning 18 in a couple of months, and I'm pretty sure a number of you can resonate with this as well, there are a number of things that we're scared to face in the real world. For some of us who have either turned 18, some of us who are turning 18, or even some of us who are well past 18 or in the middle of your teenage years, there are a number of things that we're scared of in the real world because we're not fully aware of all the challenges that are faced, all of the good things that are faced in the real world because you haven't reached that place yet. But if you want to know the 5 essential things you need to know by the age of 18, which will definitely help you in the years to come, then keep watching. Now, the first thing you need to know by the age of 18, and this is something which is very simple, we're going to keep it short and sweet, but you need to know the basis of filling in very simple documents. Basic things like filling in a job application, filling in a CV, filling in bank statements and stuff like that. Those are basic essentials that you need to know by the time you turn 18 so that you're not afraid of facing those things when you're in university and maybe you're looking for a job, maybe you need to go to the bank, because I know that like when you go to a bank, for example, sometimes it's a bit intimidating having to talk to the customer service because you're like, oh my word, what do I say? What do I do? But if you develop those skills with time, if you somehow have work experience, if you somehow have a driver's license, which is really important, you will be more independent and you will gain more confidence in yourself, because you'll know that you'll be able to move around easier and you'll know that you have nothing to worry about because you have the basics on lock. So it's important that you understand how to do those basic things as well, because that is the stepping stone into helping you when you go out into the real world. Now this brings me to my second step, which is the power of negotiation. By the time you turn 18, you should have basic skills in terms of negotiating for things, bargaining for things, because not only does it improve your conversational skills, it also teaches you how to understand people, which will then lead them to understand you more so that you reach common ground with that person as well. So whether it's going shopping with your friends, but let's say it's at a restaurant, for example, if you know how to negotiate for a good deal, for a good price, even if it's something as simple as negotiating with your parents to get that phone that you want, it's important that you know how to reason with people. It teaches you also how to argue your point and to see other points of view as well. It also teaches you a lot of confidence as well, because it's like you have a point that you're trying to get across and you're going to try your best. With negotiating, you're trying your best to get the other person to see your point of view so that they can then reason with you, because normally with negotiation there's reasoning, there's bargaining, there's coming to a mutual agreement. So with negotiating, it teaches you how to argue your point as well and to not just be a yes person, to not just stand for what anyone else will say. So it's important to know how to negotiate for things so that eventually, if you have a plan to be some big entrepreneur of some multi-billion dollar or multi-billion euro business, it's important that you know how to bargain for the small things now, so that even when you have that multi-billion dollar business that you've been aspiring to have for the longest time, when you finally reach that end point, when you reach your end goal and your vision, you need to know how to negotiate, because part of success means that you need to negotiate along the way, not necessarily take the easy way out, but negotiating means that you're trying to get what you want in a very peaceful manner, in a way that you guys will come to a mutual agreement. So it's important that you know how to negotiate by the time you turn 18, so that when you go to university and so on and so forth and the other important stages in your life, you will know how to argue your point, you will know what you want and what you stand for as well. Now the third essential thing that you need to know by the time you turn 18 is you need to know how to think independently. You need to think freely. You need to be able to differentiate between your discernment and someone else's discernment. One thing you need to know is that people have completely different perspectives on life. People have experienced different things. So the moment you go to someone else to think for you and you're not thinking for yourself, you will end up stunting where you really need to be. You may end up going in a completely different direction from where you actually want to be, because you're so used to people doing the thinking for you. Ultimately, this world moves too quickly for people with the same brain. Imagine if everyone had the same interests, the same dislikes, the same fears, doubts, hopes, aspirations. Imagine how boring and how robotic the world would be. There's a reason why, yes, this world may have a lot of chaos, but there's also a lot of positive sides to this world, because this world enables us to think differently in order to produce a good result. So you need to reach a space where you don't constantly feel like you need to keep on asking for approval, asking for validation, asking all the time, when you realize that you haven't really taken the time yourself to think for yourself. It's okay to ask for advice here and then. It's okay to go to your friend and say, hey, what do you think of this? But then if you keep on finding that you keep going for other people in order for your idea to be deemed as good, then it means you're dependent. Part of growing up and part of reaching new milestones that you're supposed to consume. You're supposed to take in another level of independence in order to make you level up and get to where you want to be. So the moment you feel like you always need to go to someone else, you need to go to your parent, your cousin, your friend, your significant other all the time, and you actually haven't made an active decision by yourself, it means that you're dependent. And when you're dependent, it really stunts your self-esteem, because you then end up thinking that you're not good enough. You end up invalidating your ideas. If you have a really big idea, even if you think it's stupid, a lot of stupid ideas have really bettered the world today. A lot of ideas that were seemed to be stupid but really weren't, really bettered the world today. So don't invalidate your idea all because you think it's stupid. Always, always, always have confidence in yourself and the way you view things, and you will really go far because you end up thinking independently and you end up thinking in the direction that you want to think and not how somebody else wants to, because ultimately they're speaking from their experience. You have experienced something completely different. So don't think that following their way of thought will help you to get to where you want to be, because ultimately you know where you want to be. Now, the fourth essential thing you need to know by the time you turn 18 is that you need to know how to own up to your mistakes. Part of making it big in life means that you're gonna face hardships along the way. You're going to do things wrongly. You're gonna hurt a few people. God forbid you do. But then that's just what happens. That is just life. So if you can't own up to your mistakes now, if you eventually want to have a huge business and then you're faced with a bigger problem and you don't own up to it and you don't take accountability for your actions, then it's not going to help you. Even if it's something small, getting into a dispute with your best friend, for example, and you know that you're in the wrong. If you can't own up to your friend and say, I'm sorry, I apologize, what I did was wrong and I never meant to hurt you. If you can't do something as simple as that, then it shows that you'll never feel like you're ever wrong about anything, which is bad because we all are wrong in certain circumstances. So if you feel like you're never in the wrong, then it's not very fair on you, because you're going to end up thinking that you can act freely and act however you want to do. You're going to end up thinking that you're holier than thou, and then you start acting out, and then you will always have the mindset that, oh, I'm never wrong about this. But that won't get you very far in life, because then you end up repelling good vibes, because people will be like, I can never have a conversation with this specific person because they never feel like they're wrong. And then next thing you know, you see that you can never actually understand other people's points of view. And then it's very, very hard for people to converse with someone like that, because you should be able to accept the fact that, okay, I was wrong in this circumstance, but how can I understand your point of view? And you reach common ground. So if you can't do that now, if you can't master that now, it's going to really affect you in the future. So you need to know how to just own up to your mistakes. When you own up to your mistakes, you gain a lot of respect from people, and people will really give you credit for the fact that you owned up to it, because people will see that, okay, this person is taking accountability for their actions. They're holding themselves accountable for whatever they did. All the small petty arguments that you probably have with your friends now, with your family and so on. Take accountability for your actions now so that it doesn't affect you in the long run when you're faced with a bigger issue and you still don't hold yourself accountable for it, because you'll end up looking really bad if you don't hold yourself responsible for the things that you do wrong, because ultimately you learn from the things that you do wrong. And if you keep on dismissing all the things that you're not doing right, and you keep on having this, oh, I'm always right mindset, then it will really affect you in the long run, and it may actually create bigger problems for you, because since you don't see that you're wrong, since you don't see there's anything wrong with what you did, then you end up feeling like, I can act however I want to act. And then, like I said, it creates bigger problems for you. So learn how to own up to your mistakes now before you go into the real world, and the real world will really kick you in the behind. Because one thing I have not yet experienced in what goes on in the real world, but one thing I know is that karma comes back to bite. So make sure you sort yourself out before karma sorts you. Now, the fifth and final essential thing that you need to know by the time you turn 18 is something that I'm pretty sure all of us have struggled with, and sometimes I still find myself struggling with this, but then it's okay. It's a learning process. It's a learning curve. But number 5, the final point, is time management. Now, time management performs on the basis of your priorities. If you have your priorities in check now, it all starts in these early days of school. It all starts with, okay, I have a biology test on Monday, I have a maths test on Monday as well, I have homework due on Wednesday. How will I prioritize my time properly? It starts with small things like that. Even saying, oh, I'm gonna come home from school and watch this show for 30 minutes, watch this for 30 minutes, go for a walk for 10 minutes. That's prioritizing your needs and prioritizing what's most important. Ultimately, learning time management is probably the key to you doing really well in life, because it won't prevent you from achieving opportunities that you know are meant for you. Now, coming from experience, time management is hard. It's really hard. But then one thing that time management will always teach you is self-discipline. It will teach you to really put your mind to something, and it will really teach you to know where your priorities are and know where the most important things are. Understand that with time management, it requires sacrifice as well. Sometimes you need to put something aside that maybe you don't want to put aside. Like, I know for me, if there's a really, really interesting show that I'm watching and I know I need to study for a test, for example, or I know that I need to do my homework, for example, I will put the show aside, and then I'll tell myself, okay, if I study really hard for this particular test, then I can go back and watch my show. You end up doing your leisure activities without guilt as well, because you know that you really put in the work for the most important things. You prioritized your needs first. Once you completed the most important things on your tasks for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, or whatever, then you can go and do your leisure activities without any guilt as well. So it's really important that you know how to manage your time. Ultimately, it relates to all the points about how it will get you to where you want to be. If you want to be a huge entrepreneur, if you want to get this really amazing job, if you want to get this really amazing course in university, you need to work hard for it. You can't just sit around and desire for something without substance. You can't sit around and say, oh, I want this big job, but then you're not going to do anything about it. You spend your whole day watching Netflix and you're not actually taking the necessary steps to where you want to be. So make sure that you know how to manage your time properly. Write a list, for example. To-do lists really help as well. Make sure you know that, okay, I need to be doing this at this time. You need to discipline yourself. Even if it means you're hard on yourself, ultimately you will produce the best results possible if you put your needs first before all the other things that come after that. But just know that as you turn 18, or maybe you just turned 18, or maybe you're just a little bit over 18, just know that it's a work in progress. We are not perfect. We're not perfect, but these are essential things that I think we're all able to master in order for us to do really well later on in life. So I hope these steps helped you, and I hope you liked the video. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. Stay safe, everyone. God bless you all. Bye.